May be peace and blessing of Almighty One God on all of you with the name of Allah, who is most merciful and beneficent. My friends, my name is Dr. Abu Abdullah, and this is my research about contribution of Muslims in art and science in medieval time, which is forgotten and nowhere available. In whole America, I try to find out in libraries, in different institutions, but there is nothing about what the Muslims did in medieval time. So today lecture is architecture, contribution of Muslims in architecture of medieval time. East. The East has always been rich in architectural monuments, and some of the greatest monuments built during ancient times were found in the East. The pyramids of Egypt, the Great Wall of China, and the Hanging Garden of Babylon, included in the seven wonders of the world, were located in the East. The pyramids of Egypt still remind people of the greatness of their builders, whose engineering skill enabled them to raise such massive places of stones to such great heights about 5,000 years ago, when mechanical and engineering faculties were not as developed as today. The Arabs, Muslims, who inherited the civilization and culture of the Greeks and Romans, also brought about a great development in the architectural sphere. The mosque is the typical and principal Muslim building, varying to some extent in the form with different localities, but always remaining its main features. Mosques, the most original creation of Muslim geniuses, which are found everywhere in the world, offer the best means of studying the architectural development of a country. In the Middle Eastern countries, religious and aristocratic buildings such as mosques, shrines, tombs, palaces, and castles predominates. The countries which abound in the finest architectural movement of the Muslims, Arabs, Persians, and Mughals are Spain, Egypt, Iraq, Persia, and Indo-Pak subcontinent. Now we'll talk about Abbasi regime. Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasi, was a city of palaces made not of stucco and mortar, but of marble. The buildings are not different in structure or style from those in Damascus and show Persian influences. The palaces were lavishly gilded and decorated. The imperial palaces of Khuld had a golden gate and hall surmounted by a green dome 80 cubits high, which was the crown of Baghdad. The palaces named Darushajar had a tree made of gold with birds perched on its branches, made also of gold and studded with gems. Another palace, the Hall of Paradise, with the magnificent chandeliers, its inlaid jewels on the walls, its paintings and ornamentations, was a fairy sight. Now we'll talk about Egypt. Egypt didn't lag behind in erecting architectural monuments during medieval times, and the Mosque of Ibn Tululi provides the most splendid sight in Cairo. Other magnificent palaces of the Fatimids and Ayyubids are in the ruins. In Indo-Pak, the Indo-Pak subcontinent possesses some of the finest architectural monuments in the East. The Mughal period is particularly noted for its fine architecture, and Shah Jahan, the builder of Taj Mahal, Jamia Masjid of Delhi, the Red Fort, and the marble palaces of Agra and Delhi, is known as one of the greatest builders in the history. Jagir was fond of paintings, while Shah Jahan was fond of buildings. Hence, what Jahangir achieved on paper, Shah Jahan achieved in bricks and mortar. The Taj Mahal, built of which marble, employed 20,000 men for 22 years and costing 30 crores of rupees is undoubtedly the finest building in the world. It is the love or lyric in marble, and it is unique in its evasive loveliness, which is so different to define in architectural terms, but most expressive of the builder's intentions. Bernier says this monument deserves much more to be remembered among the wonders of the world than the pyramids of Egypt. It's an astonishing work, says Tavernier Ferguson. Observes it is a combination of so many blentists and the perfect manner in which one subordinates to the other makes up a whole which the word cannot match. Harvey calls it a living thing with all its aesthetic attributes of perfect womanhood, more subtle, romantic, and tender in its beauty than any other building of its kind. The Pearl Mosque of the Delhi fort is a sanctuary in which mysterious souls throw between bills and ecstasy. Its charm lies in its simplicity, and its chief attraction is the purity of its marble. It's a pearl without flaw. Its finest ornamentation, floral design, artistic writings, and intricate trellis work contributes to the charm of the Taj. The very absence of these add to the beauty of the Pearl Mosque. The Red Fort started in 1639 and completed after 9 years. Contains a number of beautiful marble courts and palaces, including Rang Mahal, Mosman Burj, Diwan Arm means Hall of Public Audience, Diwan Khas, Hall of Private Audience, Sawan and Badum. The Diwan Khas, which houses the famous peacock throne, is decorated most profusely with all its sorts of ornamentations, and a marble water channel called Nehre Bishali runs through the centers of the hall and gives it an appearance of paradise with the words inscribed on its walls. Is there be a paradise on earth? It is this. It is this. Jahangir is known for building some of the finest gardens in the east, including the Shalimar Bagh of Kashmir, which contain cypresses, marble channels of water, fountains, and cascades. Fatehpur Sikri, the deserted capital of the Mughal Emperor Akbar, contained some fine architecture monuments. Its hall of private audience has an executive carved pillar in the center of the hall. The Badshahi Mosque, built by the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb in Lahore, is one of the biggest and finest mosques in the world. Now we will talk about architect in Spain. Of all the splendid architectural monuments built by the Muslims in different parts of the world, Spain possesses some of the grandest. If India can boast of her Taj, Persia of the great mosque of Isfahan, Baghdad of its majestic palace, Cairo of its mosque Ibn Tulun, Muslim Spain may claim an outstanding place for her Alhambra and the Grand Mosque of Cordoba, which are considered the marvels of architecture. In Spain too, the mosques which are found everywhere offer the best means of studying the architectural development of the country. After the fall of Spain of the Umayyad 750 AD, when Abdul Rahman founded a kingdom of his own in Spain, he developed the old Syrian architecture on individual lines. The earliest example of this style are represented by the Sidi Uqba Mosque of Kairouan and the Al Az-Zaytuna Mosque in Tunisia. The hall for a mosque was introduced in this period, and in the east there used to be a courtyard surrounded by colonnade which contained a water basin for ablutions. A lofty quadrangular tower served as a minaret, while opposite the mihrab was situated the Maksura, crowned with dome. The great mosque of Kurdwa had been built on the above plan. Horseshoe arches of alternate red brick and white keystones rested on slender pillars, and above them rose a second story of round arches of the same type as supported the original cedar wood ceiling. It's a large congregational mosque with a deep Saint Turi containing 11 galleries separated by arcade, each with 20 columns. The mosque, the Maksura contained richly decorated lobar arches and horseshoe arches where the dome sprang from two intersecting quadrangles of arches. The mihrab was decorated by Byzantine glass mosaic. In other parts of the building, in other parts of the building plastered floral forms predominate in the decorations. The minar is richly carved and the mihrab is served with glazed tiles. This plan, with its slender stone pillars, says a celebrated European writer, Horseshoe and the Loiber arches. Tiling and stucco glazed Arabic squares in later centuries was carried on its graceful style, a kind of Maghribine rococo, and remain the distinctive characteristic of all Muslims and Modijar art in Spain till the 16th century. The glory of Cordoba is Mezquite or mosque which was converted into a cathedral by Christians conquerors. It has been by the Abdur Rahman II from 756 to 788 AD, continued by Al Hakim II, and completed by the Wazir of Hisham II 976 to 1009 AD. The mosque is rectangular, measuring 590 feet by 425 feet, 113 square feet of which is occupied by the famous court of oranges, and the clusters surrounded it on the three sides. On the south of the courtyard lies a labyrinth of pillars made of many colored marbles. The 850 pillars divided the building into 9 north to south and 29 east to west galleries. Each row supports a row of open Muslim arches of the same height, 12 feet, with the third and similar row superimposed upon the second. The wooden ceiling, richly carved and polished, is still intact. The mihrab of mosque, where the imam stood, presents the best type of workmanship, in which a small octagonal recess is roofed with a single block of white marble carved in the form of a shell. Its walls are decorated with Byzantine mosaics, but the most original contribution of Cordoba to architecture, says J.B. Trent, was the system of vaulting based on intersecting arches and the visible intersecting ribs, a system which attacks the main problem of architecture, that of covering space with a roof, in which the same way as the system of Gothic vaulting, in which developed the two centers later. The palace of Al-Zahra, built by Al-Nasr, situated at a distance of 4 miles from Cordoba, was one of the best palaces of the world. It's built by many colored marbles, white, rosy, onyx, and green. The eastern wall contained fountains jetting out of mouths of different animals made of gold and set with precious stones. The Divanikam was a remarkable piece of workmanship made of marble and the gold set with jewels. According to the old writers, it was impossible to give in the words a proper description of the boldness of the design, the beauty of proportions, the elegance of the ornaments and decorations, whether of carved marble or the molten gold, of the columns that seemed from their symmetry as if cast in molds, of the paintings with the paintings that equaled the choicest bowers themselves, the vast but firmly constructed lake and the fountains with the exquisite images. So here I stop this lecture. Next time we will continue with the contribution of Muslim in architecture. Please watch my channel.